Well, folks, the Sooners are in the loss column. 25-15 defeat at the hands of Tennessee tonight here at Owen Field. Josh Heupel, in his return to his alma mater, is victorious. The good, the defense played really well for Oklahoma. The bad, well, basically everything else, fellas. There was one other very obvious bright spot, but we'll get around to that. First things first, though, Brandon. The Sooners could not run the football at all tonight, and that is kind of where the offensive issues started.
So, if I told you before the game that your leading rusher until you made a quarterback switch would have been Deion Burks through half,
that about sums it up.
Would you think Oklahoma was winning that ball game? The answer is no. Just so we're clear on that, right? Like, I think it's a rhetorical question. Yeah, it was bad. It was awful. And it starts with the offensive line, and I hate, beating a dead horse. But that's what it is. We talked to Fabici way after this game today, and we talked. The same thing we've been hearing. Game 1, you're hearing. Game 4, communication. I will say there's a reason for it, though, guys. Like, they're freaking musical chairs at offensive line. Communication is not going to be good until they finally solidify an offensive front, which they might be able to do after this week. You might have the same offensive line at Auburn that you had tonight. Potentially.
Hopefully.
Now the question is that offensive front good enough to win you a football game?
I think they are. I think what you saw in the late third through the fourth, you saw it was far from good, but it was decent. And all you need is a decent offense with this defense. And I say this all the time. At Oklahoma, after the last decade, who's going to sit here and say that? You just need a decent offense to win ball games at the University of Oklahoma. No, you needed an epic all-timer offense all the time. Now you just need somebody that can just get you 17 points. You will win the damn game.
And that is kind of a natural segue to the biggest storyline of the evening. Oklahoma made a quarterback switch. Yeah. Jackson Arnold out after 3 turnovers, all of which were completely on him and all of which were quite ugly. In is the true freshman, Michael Hawkins. 5 games into his young collegiate career, he's thrust into the hornet's nest. And it took some time for this offense to get moving under his direction at quarterback, but there were some very encouraging flashes towards the end of this football game, Brian.
Yeah, you just kind of look at the way the offense was stagnant. I mean, it truly was stagnant for the first 2 quarters, obviously, and really in the third quarter as well. Mm-hmm. But towards the end of the game, it kind of felt like Hawkins settled in a little bit and was a little more comfortable in his skin. And really, when you look at it, the Oklahoma offensive line allowed 3 sacks. There was 4 quarterback hurries on top of that. The defensive line that they just faced is probably, I would say, going to be the best unit that they face potentially all season. Maybe Ole Miss. I still think this front that you just faced is going to be the best probably. But for what Hawkins did to step in, he played his tail off. Like, that's the first thing. Guy absolutely played his tail off. Being put into a situation that was as electric as it was today here in Norman, he could have folded, and this team could have folded up shop, but they didn't. They fought until the last claw. And here's the thing, Jackson Arnold. He didn't look like himself tonight. He didn't look anything like the guy that Oklahoma fans had hoped he would be to begin the year. And you heard these rumors throughout the entire offseason, through the spring, through the summer, that Michael Hawkins was a guy that could make some special things happen. And you saw that happen today against a good Tennessee defense. So at the very least, Oklahoma comes out of this with a question mark at quarterback, but I think we might be looking at a changing of the guard, at least for a little bit, from what we had coming into the year.
Now, we could dwell on the bad for quite some time, and we probably will. We still have an Under the Visor post-game podcast to record, in which we will go into much greater detail. But again, let's talk about the good. Let's try to focus on the good here. Oklahoma's defense, all things considered, played amazing football tonight. Amazing.
Parker, you and I both talked to Tennessee reporters, people that follow Tennessee staffers, like to a man, and or women, they all said that this, outside of maybe Georgia, over the last 3 years, this is the best defense they've faced. Bar none, not even close, they said. They said this defense is going to win Oklahoma a lot of ball games because they are that good. Tennessee might be one of the top 2 or 3 teams in the country right now. Like, they just might be. They're very well balanced. They play complementary football, both sides of the ball. And for this defense to come out here with this offense that has just been a jug, what was it, offering like almost 60 points a game, right?
Mm-hmm. They had no trouble scoring.
Yeah, they were stupid. It was stupid. And they had trouble tonight. Like, if we're being candid, let's be candid here.
Okay.
Be candid. The defense, if Oklahoma had just a competent offense for just 3 quarters, not a quarter and a half, 3 quarters, they win the ball game because Oklahoma's defense spotted them 21 points with those turnovers. Like, in infield position. Spotted them, dude. Spotted them, guys. Like, it's just... Well... It was hard to watch.
It does make you wonder, and this is going to be a question that I would imagine gets asked on social media a lot throughout the week, on the radio, gets discussed, etc. But if Michael Hawkins starts for the Sooners, do they win the football game tonight? Because there were 2 instances while Jackson Arnold was still in the game that the Sooners generated a turnover on defense and then gave the ball back on the ensuing play.
But to be fair, like, I think it's a valid. I don't know if it's valid. I think it's a question that's going to be asked. I think because it's a low-hanging fruit question, right? But you can't predict Jackson playing like that.
No, you can't.
You can't predict that. And I want OU fans to understand that you need to feel bad for the kid because you just watched a kid's confidence crumble right in front of you, like play after play after play, and that is hard to watch. And then I don't know if anybody saw him on the sidelines. I don't know if you got to see it because we got to see it. I had my phone, watching up at the press box, and they panned in on him, and he looked just dejected, like lost. Was off by himself a lot. Like, that's tough to watch from a kid that loves the university, puts his heart and soul into it, wanted to be a Sooner, helped build 2 classes, mind you. Like, he helped build the 24 class as well, along with the 23 class, and to have him go through that's rough. But Michael Hawkins deserves what happened. Like, he played unbelievable.
Yeah, he did. And I guess I asked that question not more in the sense of what could have been, but what might be. As you look ahead, we all expect that Hawkins is going to draw the start next week against Auburn at this rate. It would be very shocking if that isn't the outcome. But 60 minutes of Michael Hawkins, Brian, in addition to a sustained effort, the likes of which we have seen thus far from this defense, could equal some major success for Oklahoma, not just against Auburn, but throughout the remainder of the season.
Yeah, and really the thing that you take away from that is Brent Venables said it best. He's sick of seeing it on the offensive side of the ball. It's just the unit's been inept. I mean, it is what it is at this point. He's seen this over and over again. It's the same thing, same issues week in and week out. And you just can't play good football that way. And injecting Michael Hawkins into this lineup really did seem to bring some life to it. The hard reality is, with where Oklahoma was spotted a couple of turnovers, at minimum you should have 6 points out of that, 2 field goals, and you're within 4 points there at the end of the game, and who knows, you call it differently. Totally different game. 12 points that were spotted to Tennessee, including the safety, loses you the game. And that is really what makes SEC football just that much different. And that's going to be something Oklahoma has to really prepare itself for week in and week out. Those mistakes are going to cost you football games.
Yeah.
Regardless of how good your defense is playing, you have to play complete football in this league. And Oklahoma found that out the hard way tonight.
You're not the most talented. You might be the most talented team, but that doesn't matter in the SEC. You're not. It's not like the Big 12 where you could just show up and have 5 turnovers and still win by 20. It's just a different league.
Mistakes get magnified.
Yes,
And
very much so.
again, the big positive takeaway from tonight is that defense looks like it's going to be able to keep you in pretty much any game the rest of the season. The question will be, can the offense do enough to be able to win you that game? And quietly, you know who else has been excellent, and this is a guy whose performance is going to matter for the remainder of the season, Luke Elzinga. Luke Elzinga has been unbelievable for Oklahoma.
Yeah,
I didn't think
Again,
you were
you
going to
don't-
bring him up on this thing.
You don't
know,
want to
it's-
see the punter on the field, sure,
Yeah.
but he has
flipped
been a
the field.
weapon.
Yep.
He has been a weapon.
How many yards y'all think he had without looking? How many
Aver-
punting yards?
I know
No. How many punting yards did he total?
Oh gosh, got to be north of 300.
Oh, it's north of 300.
Is it north of 400?
No, but
Okay.
it's close.
Call it 350.
It's north of 350. It's 357.
There you go.
That is ridiculous.
On how many punts?
7.
7 punts for 357 yards.
He
That's an average
averaged
of 51.
51.
Yeah.
He had 3 inside the 20.
Yeah.
That guy, he's a game changer, but the only way you can change the game is if you have an offense that can use that and help the defense piggyback off what they do by building the field position, right? Or it's just useless.
And what this all underscores is that there's going to have to be a perspective shift amongst
Yeah.
this fan base if there hasn't been already. What used to win you a football game in the Big 12 is no longer going to win you a football game in the SEC. Your strengths when you were a Big 12 team are no longer your strengths in the SEC. And so this Oklahoma football fan base is going to have to get used to the Sooners winning games in a very different fashion than they have for years upon years upon years. The Under the Visor podcast is coming your way later tonight. Or I suppose the wee hours of Sunday morning, if you will. We're going to dive far deeper into this conversation, these conversations, and much more. We'll explore this game from every single angle, take an early look ahead to next week against Auburn. For Brian Clinton, for Brandon Drum, I am Parker Thune. We'll talk to you next week from Jordan-Hare Stadium with another installment of The Rapid Reaction. Take care.